Jurassic Park is my age. First one came out in 94, the year I was born.
Oh, I see.
Which means that I have to love it.
Is that how that works?
Actually, let me look this up. I could be totally mistaken about that. Let's see. I might be completely wrong. 93. I was close.
Ooh,
I was
a year
pretty
older.
close. Yeah. So it's a year older than me, which is why I have to love it the most. Star Wars was older.
It is older. Like 70s, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know the exact dates.
Yeah, I don't either.
All right. Well, we've been filming.
We haven't. Have you been recording?
Just the last 40 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am a diehard Jurassic Park fan, which is why I went to Universal Studios to ride the Velocicoasters. We're going to start off the David the Dog Trainer podcast episode 22 with a review of Universal's The Velocicoaster.
I am incredibly jealous of this man.
Okay, so it was awesome. So it wasn't supposed to open. It's not technically supposed to open until June 10th. So we get to Florida on Monday. We start hearing through the grapevine that they're doing a soft opening of the Velocicoaster, right? So we go to Epcot the first day. And we are, we're doing the whole drinking around the world thing. We're hanging out. We're eating good food. We're having a good old time. But, we got there right when it opened. It was like 11 o'clock. They're open till 10. That's a long time to be eating and drinking for. Yeah. Took a little break. We're like, let's take a cruise over to Universal Studios. We get there. 34-minute wait on the soft open. I'll take it. We get
that was it?
34 minutes. Isn't that insane?
Oh, my God.
That's what I think I was so shocked about is how little time we actually waited to get on it.
Yeah. Because from now on, it's going to be like a 3-hour wait.
Yes. I think it's because nobody knew that's what they were doing. Because they didn't even have signs anywhere. They had signs in the park saying it didn't open until June 10th, right?
Yeah.
So we get in line. Coolest entry ever. So you walk into, it's like the docks from Jurassic Park, right? And it's right on the water. And you walk in. They got like raptors all around, and it's like you're in the raptor cage, like what they keep them in and stuff. And you go through, there's a little video kind of thing playing of Claire and Chris Pratt, and they got a whole little montage going in. Then you get on, and this motherfucker just takes off. It's flying, it's flipping, it's twisting, it's doing all kinds of cool things. And then, and throughout it, there's like raptors and noises and stuff like that. Then you hit this point, man, where it like re-accelerates you. You're going fast, and suddenly you hit that straight ahead where it just like kicks off and winds up. And it went so fast, straight up this hill, straight down this hill. I think it was like an 7-degree angle drop or something like that. So it was like basically straight down. It was crazy. By the end of it, everybody's screaming, everybody's clapping. It was a good time. We all had fun.
Did you get the Gidleys on it?
I got Brittany on it. Sean does not do those things. Sean,
he said no.
Sean's stomach says no. My stomach says no as well. We got there. I rode that single ride. I did not ride another single ride there.
Makes sense.
I was like, I'll just experience the ambiance.
Yeah. So you give it a 10 out of 10?
For a roller coaster, given the fact that I'm not typically a roller coaster guy, but I had to ride it because Jurassic Park is my favorite movie series ever, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's the best roller coaster I've been on. Aside from, listen, the first time I ever rode Millennium Force, that's a pretty cool roller coaster too.
Yeah, that one's not too bad on you, right?
No, Millennium Force I can pretty consistently do. It's the flipping and the spinning that usually messes with me, which Velocicoaster is all flipping and spinning.
Yeah.
There was a point where you go through a corkscrew and it's over the water, and because it's only a lap bar, dude, you literally you feel like you're gonna fall out of it.
Yeah.
Like the G-forces, like you don't feel stable on the ground or anything. It just feels like you're just twisting, and just this one little piece of plastic is holding you in.
Yeah, it's the same company that built Millennium Force built Velocicoaster. Yeah,
interesting.
That's why it's like the same, just like little lap bar,
singular lap bar.
You're like, are you guys crazy?
Yeah, it's like
especially that one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm surprised.
Is this fine?
Yeah,
so it's cool. I enjoyed
lucky.
it. 10 out of 10. Then we walked around Harry Potter World, explored the ambiance of the evening. It was great. And then the next day we golfed.
I saw that.
Little Disney World golfing.
Yeah, how'd you do?
Good times. I did all right. I'm still doing all right because I'm working on a lot of different games. Listen, I've been working on those short irons. That little sand wedge through 8 iron, and those are going good. I would give those a solid good.
Good. Okay.
Drivers not doing so hot.
Yeah.
And short game, still not quite doing so hot.
Ooh, the putts, huh?
The putts are better. My putts were better this time around once I made it onto the green. My chipping can use a little bit of work. Had a lesson with my instructor. Shout out Randy Dietz out at Windmill Golf Club in Macedonia. He's the man. We had a nice driving lesson on Friday morning, and it went very well. I felt confident about it.
Yeah. Drivers are weird because you feel like you need to just like smack the shit out of it.
But you do need to smack the shit out of it, but you got to do it with
it
precision.
Yes.
Yes.
Or you're going to slice in it. You're going...
Or it's just not going anywhere.
You're grounding it.
Yeah, you're grounding it.
Yeah. Were they finished with Epcot yet?
No. That's got a lot of work still to do. Yeah.
They're redoing like that front area, right?
The whole center entryway and stuff. Like that little the it's right after the ball, right after Spaceship or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they were starting to work
the
on that.
Pavilion, the world's pavilion, I believe they call it.
They were they were starting to work on that when I went. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So they started it, I think, right before the pandemic. It's a big undertaking. They're totally redoing that park.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
especially because like that one's so popular. You know,
it's going to be good. I'm excited to go back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, this is the David the Dog Trainer, episode 22.
Yes.
It is 8:55 p.m. right now.
On a Monday.
So I was gone Monday through Wednesday last week. Josh was gone Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
So we did not get to film last week, but we will not skip an episode. So we are doing 2 this week.
Yes.
So here we are. It's late. I just made myself a cup of coffee because just like I'm equally tired in the morning, once it gets this time. Listen, I'm an evening guy, so I'll keep going, but I do need that little pick-me-up to keep going through the night.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I really thought it was going to be a beer episode.
I was thinking about it, trying to cut back a little bit.
Yeah.
Drank a lot while we were in Florida. Wednesday was a little rough.
Yeah, you went around the world.
So here we are. Josh, what's new?
Man. I don't know. Fresh out of vacation, went down to Kalahari. So we didn't go to Florida, but it was still nice.
Sweet still.
Yeah. Went to Comic-Con, comic convention. Mm-hmm. Saw a bunch of weirdos.
Aren't you guys a part of that crew, though?
Yeah, we are. We're weirdos as well.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, it was my people. It's okay.
With the people?
We were with the people. But it was really weird to be at my like first like bunch of people kind of event. There's
yeah.
There's like no masks. No one cared because I think
June 2nd.
Yeah, June 2nd. The band went up. So
that would have been Wednesday.
Yep. And that's when we got there. We got there Wednesday night, and it was just
that is wild.
Strange.
So like the masks, they were not doing masks at the parks. The only place they were doing them was at Disney World in indoor places. You have to wear them still.
Okay.
Which at this point, I mean, like, listen, like if you're gonna be making me not wear one all day at an amusement park, I don't think having me wear it inside is gonna do a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the Fauci emails that got leaked or whatever? And he was just saying they don't work at all.
Joe Rogan talk about it.
Yeah.
Because they said originally when he was like, yeah, we were just saying that because there was a mass shortage and we just wanted to save them for the people. But then he's sending private emails to people.
Like, no, they're not working.
Not working.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm sure it probably does something, but I don't think it's like
what they said is that it's droplets and stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's not like this perfect piece of protection, though.
Yeah. Well,
and
good thing COVID doesn't exist anymore.
So dude, it's crazy. Isn't it? I was talking with people over the weekend. I was like, just think, like, literally 2 months ago, we would have been like, this is never going to happen.
Dude, literally, when we were in Maine, I remember talking to my dad, and he's like, man, when do you think we're not going to have to wear these masks anymore? It's like, this thing drives me crazy, whatever. And I was like, I literally looked at him, I was like, not for a while. Because I genuinely didn't think that it would have been so quick. And then it was like the next 2 days that they started announcing, we're not going to have them this time, we're not going to have them this time.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy how quick. And I think I saw, like, right now they're still in any federal place, like airports and stuff, they're requiring them. But I think within the next, July something, they're lifting that fully. So they're going to be pretty gonzo.
Yeah. That's a big one, too. If airports, and airplanes that you don't need it anymore.
I hate wearing one on an airplane.
Oh, dude.
It's rough. It's rough. Especially the plane ride back from Florida was so hot. It is so sticky.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that 2 hour flight.
It's not great.
I can't imagine going across country, like going to like California or anywhere out west.
Dude, Kate. So my wife obviously is a nurse. She went to Dubai.
Dude, when
she had to wear it the whole plane ride to Dubai.
No, that's terrible.
Man, I honestly I cannot complain about it.
Yeah.
Because she had to do that, you know.
How long is
and
that
being
flight
in the hospital
anyway? Is
and
that like
stuff,
12 hours?
Like she had to wear it like the whole time, obviously.
Yeah. Was that
I
like
think it was right around 12.
That's crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, dude, I hate airplane. Like anything over like 4 hours just gets so stuffy and you just get so antsy to just get out of there.
Yeah, just get me out.
Yeah, and there's that like the big guy that takes over like the whole armrest, and you're just like sitting there like this the whole time.
Dude, I always get stuck next to somebody like that.
It's terrible.
What's the solution though? Because you can't be like, oh, there's a weight limit on seats, because that's not cool. You know, make the seats bigger, just a little bit. Give them like 2 more inches on each side.
That's all we need.
That's it. 2 more inches.
Don't make me have to pay for first class just to have that. Come on, that's mean. But yeah,
cool.
Other than that, just
any big shoots coming up.
I still got to get over to Nuevo for their food truck. Other than that, Cloak and Dagger's putting in a patio out front. They think they broke ground today, actually. Nice. Yeah, so I got to go over there and take some nice pictures, probably either next week or the week after. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we were talking before this, I am about to just go on a hustle, email, Instagram, give me your business.
Hustle and grind.
Fest of grinding. I don't know what you want to call it, but
I like it.
I'm about to just annoy people until they give me their business.
I like it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, late podcast. We're going to be getting back into some of the topics we were discussing last time. I don't know what it is this last week, but I was getting blown up with questions online, so we're going to dive into as many of those as possible.
Let's go.
We're going to get into socialization part 2, people, dogs, environments, try to discuss some tactical things that you can be doing. We'll see. I'm not very prepared for that one, so we'll see where we get with things. So without further ado, let's see what kind of questions we got here.
Yeah, we'll see where the questions take us.
What kind of fan questions we got. All right, let me pull this up here. See where they're all at. I wish there was I probably should spend the time just like organizing these all into one spot before we do this.
Yeah, with how much traffic you get on your DMs.
All right, here we go. Also, let me tell everybody, I don't read these before we talk about them. So if I read something real ridiculous and it ever just pops up, I don't know what to tell you. I don't check these out. All right. All right. Elise says, fence fighting response. I have a neighbor who revs her dog up, opens the sliding door super fast, says, go, and sends him flying across 2 feet of yard to the fence. My dogs respond. They are never in the yard unsupervised, and I'm always there to break it up. The other dogs mind me when he sees me coming, but I'm sick of it. Any ideas? The other dog is a heeler pit mix. She also rewards him by loving all over him when he returns to the porch, where she just stands and watches. Very purposeful behavior. My dogs are an intentional breeding by a rancher who breeds and trains cutting horses, border collies, and Aussie crosses. So perimeter protection. For some reason, I end up with a neighbor who is an antagonist towards my dogs. It has been a problem. Not sure why, although it continues to broaden my training experiences dealing with aggressive dogs. I am in a suburb at the moment. Tiny yards, lots of shared fencing. We share fence with 5 groups of dogs. This is the only dog that is a problem. My dogs hate him, and I'm getting there myself. All right.
Oh, boy.
Clear the throat. Clear the throat.
I can't wait to hear the response on this one.
All right. So fence fighting. All right, let's look at a couple parts of this message here. Right. So first one, the intentional breeding. They're bred by somebody who breeds cutting horses, border collies, and Aussie crosses. So perimeter protection. Right. So this gets into genetic behaviors versus what is expected. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the thing. Right. There are so many dogs out there, right, that are bred to do certain tasks.
Yeah.
Right? My Malinois, for example, right? He is not bred to be a house dog. He is bred to be a working, high-energy lunatic. And is he that sometimes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But is he also a good house pet sometimes? Absolutely.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Genetically, his energy level will always be a certain way. He's more predisposed to do certain things without guidance. And I think that's the key with this, right? A dog that has a herding instinct with no direction will herd.
Yeah.
A dog that has a territorial instinct without direction will be territorial, right? A dog that is bred to have barrier protection without direction will have barrier protection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? All of these breed-specific traits will happen without direction, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I say you can't change the genetic makeup of the dog, and you can't stop those things from the standpoint of you can never make them just completely go away, like they're just like non-issues and you never have to think about it ever again, right? But genetic instinct is not an excuse for a dog to not be able to control themselves when given direction, right?
Yeah.
No matter what the breed is. Let's take a hunting dog, for example. There's some really freaking sweet videos you could see of dogs that, or I should say trainers that say, train hunting GSPs and stuff, and they send them out on these ridiculous catches of birds and stuff that are shot and stuff like that, and they do all this insane stuff like honoring, for example, right? That's the common thing in the hunting world. Well, they'll have 3 or 4 dogs lined up in sits, and these dogs are genetically wired to go grab that animal and bring it back, right? You better believe those genetics are strong, and they will wait for their command individually to go off, right? They can control that instinct, right, in order to not go after those things, even though they're genetically programmed to do so, right? So the reason why I get into all this kind of stuff is because people will tell me things like this, and I feel like, Elise, you are using that as an excuse for your dog's poor behavior, right? You're using the fact that your dogs are maybe genetically programmed to be border territorial or whatever it was that you said as an excuse for them to be able to be reactive at the fence line. And you're turning this into the neighbor's problem as opposed to your problem, right? Let me tell you a story here, right? So my last house I lived in Lyndhurst, right? It was a, I don't know, 1/8 of an acre or something, yard, fenced in, 4-foot chain link, whatever, right? The way the house was situated, there was a neighbor to the left, a neighbor to the right, a neighbor behind, and a neighbor catty corner, right? So I had 4 sides, right, of the fence line, right? 2 of those had dogs, right? And the one in particular had 2 boxers, right? Okay. These boxers were the most psychotic, lunatic, freaking nut job dogs on the face of the planet, right?
Yep.
These dogs were the dogs that would just freak the fuck out at anything and everything when they went into that backyard, right? It could be any hour of the day. If they heard a single sound, they would lose their mind, right?
Yep.
Now, when I first moved into that house, the first couple of times that I would let my dogs outside and those dogs would start freaking out, my dogs definitely got a little worked up from it. It was a new situation. They're in their new house. They're a little territorial of the property. And they tried to run over to that fence line, a little bit hyped up and stuff. And guess what I did? I firmly corrected for it. I showed them, I don't care what those dogs are doing. There is absolutely no way that is an acceptable behavior from you guys, right?
Yeah.
So what did they learn to do? They learned to go out there and they learned to tune it out, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that having a neighbor that has a dog that's really crazy is going to not make it harder for your dog to behave themselves, because it will, right? Yeah. But in the end of the day, they still are expected to maintain control, right? Those dogs, it got so crazy that, like, I would let my dogs out, they would start freaking out and fence fighting. There were multiple times they almost got in fights with each other back there. Like, I would hear it, like, start redirecting and stuff like that, and I would hear the lady start screaming out from the back, hey, Cooper! The dog's name was Cooper. That was like, Cooper!
Oh, God.
One time, Cooper, so again, the house was kind of catty cornered, so they couldn't really get into my fence, but they had a short wooden fence, right? And Cooper would jump the wooden fence right into like the other neighbor's yard and start running amok. And that neighbor didn't have a fence, right? So this dog would just be loose in the neighborhood. And it got so bad. I remember one time I leashed the dog up because the dog jumped. It was just loose in the neighborhood. I walked it to the lady's front door and I was like, listen, you need to make sure this never happens again. Right? I handed her the dog on the leash. I was like, your dog got out. I was like, if your dog would have jumped into my fence, like, because I obviously see that he can jump fences and he's doing it because he's distracted by my dogs. I was like, there's going to be a problem. You got to fix that. Right? The next day, she had a fence company out that made the fence 3 foot taller to make sure the dog could no longer jump the fence. Listen, I don't know what that cost to get that fence made taller, but I bet you a dog trainer was cheaper.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Wow.
Right. So anyways, moral of the story here, don't use your dog's genetic makeup as an excuse for poor behavior. Don't use other people's dogs as an excuse for poor behavior. Don't use other people as an excuse for your dog's poor behavior. Make sure you hold your dogs accountable to what is expected, right? Now we get into, okay, cool. Is it feasible with a genetically bred dog to do a certain thing to get them to not do this? Absolutely, right? Obviously, I did it with my dogs. I had 2 very intense working breeds and a pit bull at the time, right? That's going to be, those are dogs that are designed to be territorial. Those are dogs that are designed to be high drive, go, 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 and they were able to tune it out, right? So now we get into how do we do that, right? Remember last podcast when I was talking about not losing my breath because I was chill?
Yeah.
Because it was calm and quiet. I just woke up. I was tired. That's not today.
No.
Today I had a full day of doing lessons. I did, how many lessons did I do today? I think I did 7 lessons today. 7 hours of talking. And now I got about 2 more that I need to do.
You got this.
A lot of talking. I got to hydrate is what I got to do.
Yeah, but a big thing on this is what's that adage, the old adage, you don't worry about the things you can't control.
That's a good thing to say right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, you can't force that lady to do anything with her dogs.
Absolutely not.
And you should just worry about, like you said, your dogs.
Sure.
Because if you can control your dog, you won't have a problem.
Well, the thing I used to tell everybody is like, if you're walking down the street with your dog and another dog across the street starts just losing its marbles at your dog, right? Is that an excuse for your dog to start freaking out? No, right? We train for those types of pictures, right? Which means that our dogs are smarter than we think that they are. They can handle more than we think that they can, right? So anyways, we get into how do we train this, right? This one's a simple one. Guys, barrier reactivity. There is a very, very, very small percentage of dogs that it's not as easy as it seems. The majority of them, it's as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
Right? And here's the thing. Here's how I see most people stop it, right? Or here's how I see most people try to stop it, right? Let your dog out in the backyard, whatever. Other dog comes out, starts freaking out, whatever. Your dog runs over, starts fence fighting, and you go, come, Vinny, come. Come, Vinny, come. Right? And you start trying to get the dog to do a command, right? Here's the thing. That's not going to stop it. Because here's the thing. Even if your dog comes in that moment, let's take that example, right? Dog runs to the fence line. Dogs are freaking out over there. You say come. Let's say he doesn't respond. You tell him no. You give a correction on the e-collar, and he comes over to you, right?
Yep.
What was that correction for?
He doesn't know.
No. It was for not coming.
Yeah. No,
right?
Yeah.
What did that tell him at all about the dogs over there?
Nothing.
Nothing. It just said, hey, right now, you're not coming to me, and you're getting corrected for that. So he's going to be like, oh, okay, cool. So I bark and freak out until mom says come.
Yeah.
Then when mom says come, I run and come over to her.
Yeah.
Right? What do we want to stop? We want to be able to, in a perfect world, be out in our backyard, and if the neighbor lets their dog out, or the other neighbor lets their dog out, or some crazy neighbor lady runs up to the fence and goes, ooh, puppy, puppy. We want our dogs to be like, no big deal.
Yep.
Tune it out. Not a big deal, right? So how do we do that? We get an e-collar. Guys, this is the reality of the situation here. This is how you stop it, right? You get an e-collar. You set it to the highest level. You put your dog in the situation. When they run to the fence line, because they're distracted by that dog. And this is even before they start actually freaking out. As soon as they run to the fence line, you say no, and then you tap the button 3 times.
Yep.
Right? I do 3 times because a lot of times 1 is not quite enough, and 3 is a little bit more dramatic of a response that causes the dogs to kind of jump away from the fence line. Right? But you give a very firm correction for it. If the dog goes back to the fence line again, you do it again. If the dog goes back to the fence line again, you do it again. And you stay persistent with the dog with a firm consequence until they understand they need to stay away from the fence line where the dog is, right? I watch this happen every single day because here's what happens at our facility, right? You come in the facility, our training room is upstairs. A lot of times we're running a social behind the fence, just a chain link fence. There's about a 4-foot section that you got to walk past of that chain link fence to get up the stairs into the back training room. We work with a lot of reactive dogs. This morning, Krista's doing a lesson upstairs. She's got a newer client with kind of a Corso, Cane Corso. Gets very anxious around other dogs, gets reactive around other dogs. They finish the lesson. They're coming downstairs. Dude's got his dog on the e-collar. I think they just started it with healing. And dog goes over to sniff the fence, right? Not even react, right? He just goes over and sniffs the fence. Chris is like, correct him for that. Dude didn't even question it. He's like, no, bam, correction, right?
Yep.
Dog, zoop, sucks back up into that heel position. Perfect angel, ignoring 10 dogs 2 feet away from him on the fence over there, right?
Yeah.
Because we set the expectation. Don't worry about what's going on the other side of the fence. I don't care if it's arousal. I don't care if it's reactivity. I don't care if it's aggression. I don't care if it's just a distraction. I don't care if there's a squirrel on the side of the fence, a deer, a cat, whatever it may be. Things on the outside of the fence are not your business. You don't need to worry about them, right? Because that's the number one barrier we see barrier reactivity behind is the fence line. And a lot of times we ignore it in all the situations. We talk about this spectrum a lot, right? The spectrum of reactivity, right? Where if you got neutral, don't care, you have super scared, reactive, aggressive barking. Other extreme, you have happy, excitable, jumpy, whatever, right? And we ignore this one and we get mad about this one, as opposed to realizing they're both spikes away from the neutral ground, which is what we want.
Yeah.
Which is the environmental socialization.
Tying it in.
I love when it all ties in. Listen, I it just goes here to here and here to here, right? So here's the thing, right? If people start adopting, and I'm kind of going on a tangent right now. This is still related to the question, obviously, but in general, if people start treating when your dog is behind any sort of barrier, right? Fence, window, leash. Those are the big ones. It could be a car window. It could be a house window. It could be a fence for your backyard, or it could be your dog looking in on a fence of another thing, right? It could be a 20-foot leash, or it could be a 5-foot leash, whatever, right?
Yep.
If you start treating situations as when your dog is restrained, you need them to be neutral to the things around them that they cannot reach within that period of restraint, then you will achieve the golden goose of environmental socialization.
The golden goose.
Getting philosophical.
Philosophical.
That's it. Yeah. I'm dyslexic, I swear to God. You will achieve the golden goose of dog environmental socialization, right? Because here's the thing. If they're restrained from something, the only spike, whether it's positive or negative, that they're going to have is going to be built with frustration, which means that it's going to be a negative version of that positive or negative response that they have, spike, right? So you need to make sure that you're treating things that way. So anyways, back to this. Getting reactive to the dogs next door. I would be, here's another thing I see people do, right? They avoid that situation, right? So first off, you need to position yourself to be able to correct for it. We talked about no triple tap. If your dog goes back to the fence again, no triple tap, and doing it not just for super intense freaking out, but also doing it for, just going up to the fence in general when there's a distraction like that, right?
Yep.
In my house in Lyndhurst, we had a lot of deer back there, and I had to do that with deer as well. If there were deer in the neighbor yards that my dogs would see, originally that would get them very hyped up, and I needed to teach them to ignore them on the other side of the fence, right? Because of that, it was crazy. I mean, there was shit going on all around me at that house. and my dogs were very neutral and very focused on only what was happening in that yard, in their yard, right? We created a neutral environment, right? So what was I going to say? I think that was it. I think that pretty much answers the question. You got to correct for it. Oh, yeah. Most people avoid that situation, right?
Yeah.
Don't avoid the situation. Make sure that you address that situation any opportunity possible. That means if you see those dogs are out, you let your dogs out and you go work on it.
Yep.
Right? The more you do that, the more you address it, the quicker it goes away. And again, I say this when we're stopping behavioral issues, jumping, excessive barking, reactivity behind fences, things like that, it should not be a long process. No. This should not be a months of working on this thing. If that's the case, you're probably doing something wrong that I discussed, right? This should be pretty much done in a week.
Yeah.
If you're in a position to be able to address it a handful of times throughout that week.
I believe that, yeah.
That's it. Question answered.
And why would you inconvenience yourself by avoiding it anyway? Like that sucks. Like especially if something like that, like
that's such a pain in the ass. Listen, I'm not saying, and let me also caveat, Elise, I'm not saying that your neighbor's not an idiot, right? It sounds like your neighbor's probably an idiot.
A big idiot.
Right? And they should not be doing those things because it's making it harder for yourself, right? Yes, I understand that. But if you hold your dogs to that standard, you remove their ammunition as well, right? Because here's the thing. This neighbor that I had originally, you could tell that first week I was in the house or so, she didn't care that her dogs went back there and started freaking out. It wasn't until she realized how good my dogs responded to it and how much it irritated me that I needed to keep my dogs under control because of her that she started caring about it. You know? Yeah. So here's the thing. This lady thinks it's all funny and stuff because in her mind, I'm sure it's, hey, buddy, you want to go play with those other dogs on the other side of the fence because they get all fucking hyped up and freaking out at the fence line and stuff like that? Okay, cool. Here you go. Go. Right? And you're freaking out. Your dogs are freaking out. Her dog's freaking out. And in her mind, it's probably just funny. You know? The second you get it under control with your dogs and it's no longer funny and she's the only one with the bad dog there, then all the eyes are on her. Then the spotlight's on. It's like, oh, wait, why can't I control my dog? Right? Then you start to change that perception a little bit there.
Lead by example.
Lead by example. Show them how it should be.
Yeah. And a quick tangent on, like, you know, because she was talking about, like we were talking about genetics and breeds. I mean, I have a Australian cattle dog.
Yeah.
When he was going to daycare, there was this big Newfoundland named Milo. And he was white with brown spots. This my dog literally, Bender thought that was a cow. And the first week, like, he would go around and he would herd Milo. He would nip at his ankles and make him go around. Yep. But it was causing trouble. Guess what? He got corrected. Guess what he never did again? After 2 times, he never touched Milo again.
I believe it.
And that, I mean, you want to talk about genetics, like that's what he was bred to take on cows. And this dog looked like a cow. Yeah. And now he no longer cares, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know you're not trying to use it as an excuse.
People unintentionally use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's not that they're like intentionally like, I'm looking for a reason to like push this off on somebody else, but because they struggle with the issue, they tend to look for outside reasons why it can't be solved.
Yes.
Right? And this goes into the conversations we see all the time about like rescue dogs, for example, right? This is why we play up these stories so much, right? We play up the abuse and the neglect and this that is because the dog struggles with a problem, right? And in our mind, the dog will probably never get better with that problem. So we need to create a reason why that problem is there so we feel less bad about it.
Yep.
You know, socialization is one of the bigger ones, right? Dog reactivity, stuff like that. People get real up in arms over that kind of stuff, real up in arms over dog reactivity, and the dog will never get better with it, or dog aggression. The dog will never be able to be socialized. One dog household, this and that.
Yeah.
As opposed to understanding you can make those things better, and that might not be the case, but instead we make a story for why it can't be better.
100%.
Right? Why this dog can't be around children, why this dog can't do this and that, and blah, 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 you know? So it's kind of what we do as humans, right?
Yeah, give it a narrative.
You give it a narrative, right? So hope that helps. Doo-doo. All right, see what else we got here.
Sorry, Paige, for that. That one's going to be a long one.
Yeah, right. Clip.
Clip.
All right. All right. This next one is from Alexandra. Also, real quick. Miracle Canine Training Island Vibe shirts now in stock. Got it in black. Got it in yellow. Only ordered 25 of each. Get them while they're hot. I have a phone call with my website designer tomorrow. We will be adding a online store to our website this year. Ooh. We are going to be getting on the Miracle Canine gear. Listen, we got Island Vibe shirts. My buddies already said they want Miracle Canine Training Golf Club gear.
God.
The Miracle Canine Training Golf Club. We got a lot of clients that are golfers. We're coming at you. I'm collabing with FootJoy. We're going to make some golf polos. Miracle Canine Golf Club. They'll be up for sale soon.
Dang.
We're working on it. All right, next question. Alexandra. Podcast topic / question for you guys. Right. What are your thoughts on dogs ringing a bell to go outside? Recently, I've been seeing a correlation between owners that struggle with behavioral problems and their dog using a bell. I don't know if it's the bell itself or just that personality type of those owners. I encourage them to remove the bell and create a structure for the dog. I personally do not want my dog telling me what to do and never train dogs to do it or felt the need to. I'm curious if you noticed a similar pattern or not. Okay, there's 2 questions. One question on thoughts on dogs ringing a bell to go outside. The second part of the question is the correlation between the owners that struggle with behavior problems and the dog using a bell. Okay, this is gray. What behavior problems are you talking about? Are you talking behavior problems like the dog is having accidents and the correlation between the bell? Yeah. Or are you talking behavioral problems like just like, I don't know, jumping and other things with it? I'm assuming the latter is the case because she mentioned she doesn't want to teach a dog to tell us what to do. Yeah. Which, listen, I would agree with her most of the time with that. I think that she's probably reading into this a little too much, though, as far as the correlation between the two. Because here's the thing. I think the bell, as far as teaching the dog to go outside using a bell, is a very effective thing, right?
Yeah.
Is a clear way for our dog to tell us a specific thing, right? It tells us, hey, I would like to go outside. Now, whether that means that they need to go to the bathroom or not, whatever, you can argue that one all day long, but they're telling us that they need to go outside.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Right? Our dogs do this all the time. Is that rain? You hear that?
Yeah.
That's loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a huge cloud when I was coming in.
It's coming down out there. Thanks. Water my plants, please. So here's the thing. Our dog is going to tell us one way or another, right? Whether it's a bell or whether it's they sit by the door or whether it's they get antsy and start walking around, our dog knows that they can do certain things to let us know when they need to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Right? It inevitably, there is going to be times where a dog tells us things and we have to respond to it. That is one of the number one situations. Right? So I think you're looking a little too much into that. I don't see a correlation between it and anything else. Now, my problem with the bell for most owners is that most owners will use it as an excuse to not need to let their dog out very frequently, not need to create disciplined structure for when and how they let the dog outside. And I will see a correlation between owners that say their dog is bell trained and the dog having accidents in the house.
Yeah.
Because they're not staying on top of it. They're not looking for the signs that the dog needs to go. And frankly, most of them don't understand how to train the bell to teach the dog to go outside.
That's a very good point.
Right? So, how do we start to teach that? This is the question, right? If you do want to use a bell, how do you teach? Actually, let's go back even a little bit further. How do we teach a dog to let us know that they need to go outside in general, right? Let's say you get a new puppy in, right? A lot of people want to know this, right? I think a lot of people make it up in their mind that the dog should automatically know how to tell us that they need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But we have to train these cues in, right? So how do we do it? We do it through something we refer to as free shaping, right? Okay. What is free shaping? Free shaping essentially means we incrementally reward things, free shaping as well as, I'm going to throw out another keyword for everybody to learn today, successive approximation. What does successive approximation mean? Successive approximation means we're incrementally rewarding steps along the way to the actual thing that we want the dog to do in order to get them to figure it out more quickly, right? We use free shaping to do so, which means that we don't actually coax the dog into doing anything. We just wait for them to do it automatically and then reward it, right?
Okay.
So how do we do this, right? First and foremost, we need to figure out what we want our cue to be. Let's use sitting next to the door to go outside as it, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do? First thing we do is we start looking for signs that the dog might need to go to the bathroom, right? That could be a little bit of excessive pacing. That could be whatever, right? The second that they start doing it and walk past the door, what you're going to do is you're going to get up and go let them outside. Even if they don't actually have to go, if it looks like they're just walking by the door, go let them outside. Repeat that step over and over and over again throughout the day until you start noticing a more deliberate, the dog looking for that sign over there, right?
Yep.
They start walking over to the door. They start hanging out by it. And every time they do that, you're going to go let them out. Now, little by little, you're going to ask for a little bit more. So instead of just walking past it, we want them to walk past it and come to a stop. Every time we see that, we let them outside, right? Then we start waiting for them to make a conscious decision to go sit by it and look at us, let's say. Then we start rewarding for that by letting the dog outside, right? Because again, going outside is the reinforcement for this.
Yep.
Little by little, what we're going to do is say we want it to be the dog sits by the door and barks at us, right? So we wait for the dog to sit by the door, and then they sit by the door, and then they whimper. Then we let them outside. Then that whimper turns into a little bit of a chirp, and we let them outside. Then that chirp turns into a bark, then we let them outside, right? And little by little, you start teaching them, even if they don't actually need to go to the bathroom, when they do these things, or they do this particular thing, that's going to mean that they get to go outside, right? Now, you could start to add the bell in once you have that. You could start to add the bell into the equation by once you have that part established of the dog sitting by the doorway, you hang your bells by the doorway, right? And what you do is before you let the dog outside, when they're sitting next to it, you walk over there and you get them to touch that bell, right? You can use a treat to lure them or whatever you want and take them outside.
Yeah.
Then you incrementally will wait until they make a motion towards the bell. Then they let them outside, right? Then you wait for them to bump it. Then you let them outside. Then you wait until they do that entire sequence of going over there, hitting the bell, let them outside. And you essentially demand that they do just that if they want to go out there. And you wait them out until they do it, and you teach them that cue, right? And once they make that correlation, then you kind of have it taught, right? And it's a long process for some of these dogs, but if you're efficient about that early on, it's going to gain you a lot of headway very quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with the bell. I think as long as you're not using it as an excuse for not needing to pay attention to your dog, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a big problem is people have the expectation that their dog will get it right away, and they don't need to do the baby steps in between.
Yep.
Then you just get lazy.
100%.
We don't like laziness here.
Yep. Next question. Do you know of any trainers in New York City you recommend? Yes. Blake Rodriguez, Dream Come True Canine.
That was an easy one.
Yes. Now, here's the issue. I'm not, and again, this is not me talking smack on Blake Rodriguez by any means. We've had a lot of out-of-state clients come in lately, right?
Yeah.
And particularly, we've had a lot from New York City, right? Get ready for this. So, why, if there are fantastic trainers that I recommend in New York City, would people be driving to Cleveland, Ohio for our dog training program if I'm saying this person's dog training program is just as good?
Money.
It's so expensive.
Yeah, I
Listen,
can imagine.
you start getting into the tier with some of these people, and listen, I understand, and I'm not saying it's not worth the money because I know there's plenty of people out there that can afford it, but you start getting into a board and train program that costs like $6,000, right? That's a lot of money, man, right?
Yeah.
You can drive your dog to Cleveland, Ohio and drop them off, drive back to New York City, drive back to pick them up, take 3 days off work so you can do training with us, and then drive back, and you could still come in cheaper than that.
That's crazy.
This has been one of my big goals throughout this company, right? I talk to friends of mine that have very successful businesses and charge, X amount of dollars for their things and whatever. I talk to people about this kind of stuff. And you kind of have two ways to look at things as far as if you want to grow a business and continue to make money doing it, right? You have the option of raising your prices, right? And making sure that that incremental raise in price stays so that your demand is at X, right? So like say you only can do 4 board and trains at a time, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I can't do more than 4 board and trains at a time, how am I going to make more money? I have to raise my prices, right?
Yep.
My goal has always been to increase the amount of intake I can get so we can generate more income doing that. So instead of doing 4, can I do 14? Can I do 24? Can I do however many, right? And then have the prices at what is fair for me to pay the staff a very good rate for doing that, and also where we can make money off of it, but also have it be just high enough where I can do that, but low enough where it's still accessible to everybody, right? If you look at dog training, who are the people that typically struggle with dogs and care enough about it in order to put the work in, right? And invest the money and the time into solving those problems. A lot of it is just average people.
Yeah.
That just want to hang out with their dog and
Yeah.
want to live a good life with their dog.
Yeah.
These people can't afford that. They
Yeah.
can't afford $6,000. Can't afford $7,000, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't condone this, but most people, if they really ran into a pickle with their dog, can put $2,500, $1,500 on a credit card and get that help if they really need to.
Yeah.
You know? So I've always wanted to stay as reasonable as possible with that. And even right now, we used to be one of the more expensive places in Cleveland, and there's a lot of companies right now that are charging significantly more than us right now for their board and train programs. And I think that's a part of the reason why we've been so busy lately also is because we're not, I have no interest in raising prices right now.
Yeah.
We make enough off our programs. It's fine, right? I want to keep helping as many people as possible. And by keeping them lower, I make myself accessible to be able to help as many people as possible.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, $6,000 is
Crazy.
That's a down payment on a fairly decent single family house sometimes.
Absolutely.
Or definitely a new car.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one, man. I know the living wage and everything is so much more expensive out there and all this, but most of these people that are moving to New York, not most of these people, I mean, I'm sure the percentages of the people that live down there is very skewed all over the place. But there's so many people out there that have dogs that I'm sure are just scraping by trying to live in New York City, let alone if they're struggling with a dog or something, and everybody's rates are catered to the high class of New York City. They're not going to be able to get help from anybody.
Yeah. I don't know why anyone would want to live in New York anyway. It's so
I
expensive.
wanted to live there so bad for the longest time. I've always had dreams and goals of it.
Yeah.
I think it's the coolest place.
I mean, it's cool when you visit and everything,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man.
I mean, it's completely unrealistic. Now, I don't think at this point I would want to live there. But I love the competitive atmosphere of it.
It's very competitive there.
But at the same time, the cool thing about Cleveland, and I talk about this with a lot of my clients, is being that it really is the smallest, biggest city in the country, right? You have every perk of these big cities, but on a smaller scale that's manageable at a less expensive rate with almost cooler things, You got waterfront, you got fantastic hiking, we got a freaking national park here, you got city life, you can go downtown and do the whole city living thing. You got these small city neighborhoods surrounding that are hip and popping and have all the great food and drinks and culture and this and that. We have culture in general in Cleveland because we have generations of families of different communities and ethnicities and stuff like that all throughout Cleveland, right? So we can enjoy all of those types of perks. It's just great. It's a great place. I like it. I mean, it really, I can't imagine ever leaving it at this point, I don't think.
Clevelander for life.
Cleveland for life. All right.
Cleveland against the world, right?
Cleveland against the world. All right. Anyways, next question. So this question is from Destiny. This question is from YouTube. If anybody else would like to ask questions on YouTube, we would like to answer them.
Hell yeah.
Destiny says, "Hi, I have a resource guarding dog, but not towards other dogs. He loves being with dogs. Does very well at daycare and with the people there. It's towards people when I am holding him or if my boyfriend is holding and he is on leash. They could stand pretty close but can't reach out to pet him because he will lash out. And he does fine off-leash with people, like at dog parks and daycare, but does not do well when he connected to me by leash. I've had multiple incidents where off-leash dogs run up to him on walks, and he doesn't care and is very playful. But if it's a person, he gets extremely protective. I've hired a trainer and have seen much improvement with one session. But what do you suggest as a second opinion? Well, first off, just pointing out this last part here. You hired a trainer, and you've seen much improvement with one session. That's fantastic, first off.
Yeah.
There are not many trainers out there that will give you that much success in one session, so you must have hired a good one, which I like. This is great. I like it. But if you're having success with your trainer, don't seek out information from somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like,
That's true.
this is part number one of the question, right? Like, I appreciate you asking it, but the second you start ping-ponging, I see a lot of trainers falling, or not a lot of trainers, a lot of owners fall into this trap, and they ping-pong from trainer to trainer, right? It's like, let me take some information here. 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 And the old saying, if there's one thing, one thing two dog trainers can agree on, it's that the third one is wrong, right? Most dog trainers are going to have a conflicting view on things, right? And it's not that the concepts are incorrect that anybody is going to refer to you, but you got to keep in mind, every trainer has a specific program outlined for a specific reason. So this trainer that you're working with right now, you're on session number 1, and I'm sure you just hit the tip of the iceberg, right? You're just starting to understand some very basics of how to communicate more effectively with your dog, and that'll probably turn into understanding how to communicate more effectively with other people so you don't run into this situation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Or if you start seeking information from elsewhere, you start messing with that program because you're trying new things, and then their program no longer works because you're not actually following it anymore. So let me caveat with this. I'll give you my opinion on this because I think it'll be good and informative for everybody else, but I do not want you to follow my advice until after you've finished your training if you are still having problems with it. This is a key, guys. Stick with one instruction, period.
Yep.
Okay, so resource guarding, right? This is one where I don't necessarily say that it's resource guarding. Right? Because here's the thing. This would fall into the trap of just general protectiveness of one's self, right? I think most dogs, when they're on a leash, when they display any sort of reactive or quote-unquote resource guarding behaviors of owners, most of them are not actually guarding their owners in that case. Most of them are guarding themselves, right? Most of them are scared, and because they're scared in that situation, they start reacting. Now, why are they scared, and why are we seeing the reaction in only that type of scenario, but not in situations when they're off leash, right? Well, first off, it's because on the leash, and this is why we don't do on-leash greetings, on the leash, your dog is immediately put in a position of restraint, right? They only have, let's say they're on a 6-foot leash. They only have a 6-foot radius around you they can move within. That's not very far. If somebody's coming into their space, that 6-foot radius feels like nothing. That feels like they have no escape route.
Absolutely
so you've eliminated
nothing.
flight, right? Which means that fight is the only option left. So what happens? You tap into fight or flight. Somebody invades your dog's space. Your dog can't get away. They're uncomfortable. They react. Now, why does your dog do this to people and not dogs? Well, this is a simple one. Your dog is more scared of people than they are of dogs, which is very normal because here's the thing. Let's break that one down for a minute. Dogs typically will be more scared of people because they communicate like shit with dogs. People do not understand dogs. They don't understand dog body language. They don't understand how to communicate effectively with them, right? So because of that, we put them in vulnerable positions all the time that make them feel uncomfortable. Right. And we tend to make fearful dogs worse because of that. We try to socialize them and communicate with them in all these improper ways that puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on them. Right. Yeah. Dogs, on the other hand, are different because most of the time, at least, if we're socializing them properly. Hold on. My phone's blowing up over here. I got to flip it over so I'm not distracted. Most of the times, if we're socializing dogs properly, dogs understand this stuff better than we do. It's interesting. When I socialize dogs, like we were socializing 2 dogs today, right? I got this Dutch Shepherd client I'm working with, has a history of some like dog aggression issues, people aggression issues. He's muzzled, whatever. And we're socializing with another dog at our facility, a nice playful dog. And man, this play was wild. They were running, playing, jumping, biting, growling, just looking wild, when they were playing with each other. And the owner's like, how do you know when you need to step in? I was just like, there's not a great answer for that because you just kind of know. Right? Because here's the thing. Even though all of this looks insane and it looks like, holy shit, I'm kind of uncomfortable about this and stuff right now, these dogs understand this better than we ever will. They speak each other's language, right?
They're dogs.
They're dogs. They understand the same stuff, right? So because of that, most dogs are more comfortable with other dogs. That's why we use dog socialization as one of the biggest icebreakers for new dogs that are maybe insecure that come to our facility, right? So that's the first step of it, is understanding that when the dog is on leash, they're going to be more protective of themselves because they're scared. They're better with dogs than they are with people just because they understand each other better. We do weird things to them and we put them in vulnerable situations. Now, how do we start to work through this? Because that's the real question, right?
Storming out there.
No, I hear that. So first off, you got to understand that our dogs will always react if they don't feel like we're going to react for them, right? So on leash situations, leash reactivity, things like that. What's the very first step to work through leash reactivity issues? Very first step of it is getting confident in telling people, listen, we're not interacting right now.
Yep.
Sorry.
Not happening.
It's not happening. I don't know what to tell you, but you can't come up and pet my dog.
Yeah.
You can't let your dog come up to my dog, right?
Yeah.
The second you start doing that, especially if you are not used to doing that, your dog's going to start being like, whoa, these dogs aren't even coming up to me anymore. This is weird. And they'll still be reactive. They're still used to needing to defend themselves in these types of scenarios. But what's going to happen is they're going to start little by little realizing that they're not put in this pressurized situation. Their stress level is going to come down. Their frustration is going to come down a little bit. And you're going to see that reactivity start to diminish a little bit, right? Then, over time, what we're going to do is we're going to start training the dog, right? We're going to teach leash walking. We're going to teach the dog a proper heel position. We're going to teach the dog a proper sit or down stay. So when we come to a stop and are having a conversation with somebody, we can put them into that. Now we've relieved the pressure of nothing's happening to our dog that's putting them in this flight situation or this fight situation. And then we start giving direction, right? So we start telling our dog, hey, no, you need to stay right here right now. I need you to not mess with them over there because they're leaving you be. I'm protecting you from them. So I need you to mind your own business right here. And we start doing that. And then what happens is over time, as we do that, we get in a situation, our dog gets uncomfortable by something and they go, zoop. What am I supposed to do, pal? And then you hit the golden goose.
The golden goose.
You hit the golden goose of on-leash stuff. And your dog starts looking to you for guidance when they're stressed out because they know that you're going to handle the scary things for them, which is the number one key with this. And 2, you're going to give them direction through those things. And 3, you're not going to take any of their shit, right? Once you hit that, you're good to go. So hopefully your trainer is teaching you these things, because if you do all of the training related things, but not that very first one of keeping people out of your dog's space, you're going to fail. And if you just do that without the training, you're probably going to fail as well, but you'll be better off with that at least.
Yeah. I think it kind of ties to the same thing we were talking about with the fence, reactivity. You have to assert yourself to keep your dog safe. Like, don't just
100%.
Don't just expect it just to happen,
None of this stuff just happens. And this is an interesting one. And this is one I'll forever be preaching about with people, is people don't need to come up and pet your dogs, right? And a lot of people are like, well, what if I want to go to the park and I want to have my dog go run and play, or want to have people come up and pet them, and I feel bad telling them no and this and that. It's like, okay, cool. You're going to struggle with this issue forever then,
Yeah.
It's the reality of the situation. People don't need to do it, right? We get into the environmental socialization side of things. If you want your dog to be neutral to things around them, you can't have people come up to them. You can't have dogs come up to them. 1, because they're not going to be neutral to things around them. And 2, you're putting them in a vulnerable position where if something happens, they bite somebody, they get uncomfortable, they're more likely to have something negative happen in that situation. And that's why we see over and over again, my dog's fine off leash, my dog's bad on leash. Cool. Don't have people mess with them when they're on leash, and only socialize them when they're off leash.
Yep.
Because that's proper socialization. That's how we do dog socialization properly. We make sure there's no toys, no food, no affection going on. We put two dogs together with each other, and you let them interact and you let them figure it out because they're dogs, and they, typically speaking, always know how to communicate with each other. You want to do proper people socialization. You don't fuck with the dog all the time. You let your dog into that situation with those people, and you have mutual respect for each other. You understand when the dog is stressed out. You understand when the dog is giving you cues that they don't want to interact, and you leave them alone. And when the dog seems like they're coming out of their shell and needs a little bit of attention and stuff like that, you can interact with them and play with them. That's what dogs do with each other. If you watch a pack of dogs playing with each other, you watch the daycare going on when we have them at our facility, you're going to see the playful dogs in the middle running around, interacting, sniffing everybody, stuff like that. And then you're going to see the outliers that are a little bit more uncomfortable or nervous because it's their first day, or they're a little bit more shy, sitting off to the side. And dogs do not go up to those dogs. They leave them alone because they know they need time to get used to that environment. And the second those dogs start coming out of their shell and making their way over towards the center, maybe letting out a couple air sniffs, you'll see some of the calmer, more social dogs will then start slowly approaching. They don't smother them. They slowly start approaching and helping them get out of their shell until it turns to play, right? Yeah. If you watch dogs, you understand how they know how to do this. And we can learn so much by watching them do this, by understanding that's how we should be interacting with dogs. We don't need to smother them with affection.
Yeah.
We don't need to hug them and kiss them and do all these things and drag them and force them into these fearful situations. If they're nervous, it's okay. You leave them be, right?
Yeah.
You don't mess with them, and you let them get acclimated and comfortable to their environment, and you let them mind their own business over there. And then when they start coming out of their shell and they want something, you cannot smother them and freak them out all of a sudden of like, oh, hey, you're coming out of your shell. Oh my God, you're right?
Yeah.
You let them ease into it, and you go in at their comfort level and you help them. That's the key. As opposed to expecting things from them, you help them through these situations. And that's the key to people socializations. You get good at reading the dog's body language, right? And you understand how much to push and where to push to help progress that dog just enough. And you, as the owner, it's your job to know those things so you can control that environment around the dog to make it productive, right?
Yep.
And most of that is going to be you controlling the people that you let socialize with your dog. Yep. If you have a dog that's uncomfortable and want to socialize them better, right? And obviously, if your dog has aggression issues or you have a history of biting and stuff like that, you could use a muzzle throughout this process. Gunner, the dog I was just describing, that Dutch Shepherd that had some human aggression issues, Matt was doing a lesson with us, right? Matt was wanted to interact with the dog a little bit and stuff, and we used the muzzle for it for safety. And guess what? They were able to have a really great interaction that was polite and mutually respectful of each other, and it was very productive for the dog because we knew how to do that, right? And it's okay. Yeah. And you as the owner can control that and create the safe environment and also have the communication established to give the leadership and the direction as you need to help them through these situations. So your dog obviously isn't acting up, because I'm not saying they're 100% innocent, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they do act out and they do, incorrect things, and they jump and they growl and they bite. And we do want to obviously send the correct message when they do those types of things. But that's the key with it, right? In environments, you let the dog environmentally socialize by not letting stuff mess with it and making your dog ignore anything outside of their radius, right? When you're socializing them with dogs, you remove resources, you put them into that situation, and you let them interact with each other and figure it out because they know better than you do. And with people, you make sure that you are understanding and respectful of the dog's needs. You watch how dogs socialize with each other and understand that kind of stuff so you know where and when to push, and then everybody's happy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. It's like, this is... I don't know if this is the right thing to think about, but let's say you have a friend you met at work, and then he finally wants you to hang out with his group of friends that he's known for years, and you don't know anybody, and you go to a giant party where there's 15 people you've never seen before. You don't just go there and start going wild and crazy and like being loud and stuff, because everyone's gonna be like, oh, so that guy.
I think a better example of that, to your point, you got a friend, new friend group, whatever. They invite you to hang out with their friend group. How's that typically go? If it's with a actual good friend of yours,
Yeah.
what do? They spend the time introducing you
Yep.
around. They ease you into it. They start sharing some information about you to that person. Those people don't just smother you right
Yeah.
off the rip.
Exactly.
They help you ease into the conversation as you're ready, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's mutual respect amongst that, and knowing that you're the new person, they allow you to speak a little bit, and you
Yeah.
start, getting your piece out, and then little by little, it becomes a nice, friendly, the real intense kind of relationship that it turns into eventually. But it doesn't start out that way.
No.
It turns into that over time.
And we all see the human cues.
100%.
And that's what dogs do. They see the cues of each other.
100%.
That was a really good one, though. I like that. That was a good response.
I thought that was a really good one. Listen, and here's the thing. That dove into our understanding of basic socialization. That dove into our people, dogs, environment kind of stuff. I'm losing my fucking voice right now. So we're over an hour in. We're going to end that on a positive note.
No, that
Today's
was a good
Q&A podcast.
Yeah.
We'll get more into socialization next time. I'm happy with it. That was good. Nice, short, and sweet for the people.
Yeah, exactly.
For the people.
Come on. We're doing, hey, it's a two podcast a week this week.
What did Tom say? Hey, your family. Remember that?
Family.
Hey, your family.
God.
Oh, Jesus.
That's really cool, too, that we got questions on different platforms.
Questions on all of them.
Yes.
Keep on doing it. All right, it's 10 o'clock. We're wrapping up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch Josh at Josh Dovey Productions. Catch us at miraclecaninetraining.com. See ya in 2 days.